In this video, I'll create this anime style explosion effect using geometry nodes in Blender. Let's get started. I'll first get rid of this default cube. Then I will move on to geometry nodes tab. Here I'm going to bring out an icosphere. This will be our base mesh, and then create a new geometry nodes graph. Let's add a node subdivision surface, and we'll increase the levels to 3. As a result, you can see the number of faces or polygons on the surface has increased. Next, I will also put a set shade smooth node after subdivision surface, and it will smoothen the surface of our sphere. Then we have to add the set position node, not this one. Let me delete it. Yeah, there you go. We will use the offset input of set position node to make changes to the surface of this sphere. For that, we'll need Voronoi texture, and we will connect the output of this texture node to map range. Map range node basically helps us in modifying the effect, of the texture node. The output of this map range node will be multiplied by the normal vectors, and that result will be fed to the offset of set position. This vector multiplication of normal and map range output gives us the direction where each point of this sphere will move. I have reduced the scale in the Voronoi texture, so you can see the surface is smoother now. And here we can change the values in map range as well to achieve a smoother and curvy surface. I'm also using this extra vector multiplication node, and this will help us in achieving that curvy surface, as you can see in the output. So now we have this puff like mesh instead of a sphere, and this can be textured in a way that it would look like an explosion, and this is what we are going to do next. We must add the set material node just before the output, and from here we can select the material. Now let's move on to the shader editor. So first of all, I'll get rid of principal BSDF, and here in the set material node I'll select the right material or texture. Okay, coming back, now I'll use emission node. You can change the strength of this emission node, and then to its input I'll connect a color ramp node. Change its interpolation to constant, and change the positions of the levers like this. Then we'll connect shader to RGB node to color ramp. and this will be connected to diffuse BSDF. Here you can see we are able to achieve anime like shadows or outlining for this mesh, and now we can also change the colors. Instead of white we can have a bright yellow color. Let's make it orange. All right, now it's looking like a fireball. Here in the render settings you can change the color management to standard. Now the colors are brighter. Now let's connect a node called Fresnel to diffuse BSDF, and you can change the IOR, and here you can see that the outlining is more defined for our mesh. This is looking good now. Let's add a sunlight. This is important because otherwise you won't be able to see these outlines or shadows on this mesh. Let's increase the strength of sunlight to 5, and I'll make a copy of this light, shift it a little bit further and change its direction to almost opposite to the other light. Now if you go to the render view, this is how your mesh will look like. Next I will use some nodes to create a vertical movement in this explosion puff. So for that I'll need a position node. Now connect it to separate XYZ. Let's bring out a combine XYZ node, connect X and Y coordinates to their counterparts, and connect the output to the input of Voronoi texture. Now we will add a scene time node and multiply it by minus 0.5 because we want our movement from bottom to top or from minus z to plus z direction. Then this output will be added to the z coordinate of position, and then finally the output is again connected to the combine XYZ. Now let's play the animation. So you can see the explosion puff has this smoke like animation or fire like animation that originates from the bottom. Now in the edit mode you can copy the existing mesh and just place the new mesh on top of the previous one. You can also change the size of these puffs. So this is how you can create a bigger explosion effect. And you don't have to do anything extra to animate this new explosion mesh. So you can use the same node set in geometry nodes and shader editor and it will still work. Similarly, you can create the smoke effect All you have to do is replace the yellow color and orange color with gray or white, right? So you can see that it's not that difficult to create anime style explosion effect using geometry nodes.